Hello, how are you? Thank you for taking out the time. This video is on the nakshatra of Krittika. Krittika falls in the sign of Aries and Taurus, and as per mythology is ruled by Lord Agni and Lord Kartikeya. I'm going to be sharing the mythological stories linked to Lord Agni and Lord Kartikeya first, and in the second half I'm going to be sharing how different planets behave in Krittika. Let's start with Lord Agni. Lord Agni is the god of fire, and as per mythology, Lord Agni is the messenger between the realm of the humans and the realm of the gods. As per Indian mythology, during rituals, we offer food to fire, thinking that this food is reaching the realm of the gods. As per Hindu mythology, the body, after it has passed on, is burnt. The idea is the body is now carried away from the realm of this world to a higher world. So this process of transcending from this world to a higher world is directly linked to Lord Agni, and therefore this nakshatra. Lord Agni is the medium. So therefore, spiritual awakening is directly linked to Krittika. A Krittika native has the capability to transcend to a higher plane. Lord Agni has the capability to burn away our delusions. Like whilst growing up, we saw rainfall and we asked our parents what is the reason, and they told us a story, and we started believing that. And as we grew older, we got to know of the water cycle. We burnt away that delusion and we attained true knowledge. That is the job of Lord Agni. It burns away our delusions. Therefore, all educational institutes are directly linked to Krittika. All teachers, professors, trainers, motivators, coaches are directly linked to Krittika. Now, whilst growing up, we all had difficult exams to take, and we found ourselves burning the midnight oil. It's a beautiful example, a beautiful illustration. The burning of the candle, the burning of the oil in the metaphorical lamp is burning away our ignorance. Lord Agni is known to bestow tejas on the native, intelligence. Lord Agni is also known to be Lord Grihapati, the Lord of the household. And the most important function is to do with the use of fire within the household. We do it every day. We cook our food. So all professions linked to the cooking industry are directly linked to Krittika. The fire inside our belly, the digestive system. So if the person wants to build one's career in medicine and has a strong Krittika's influence on one's chart, the person can be an expert in disorders linked to the digestive system, or the person can be an expert in food and nutrition. Fire keeps us very warm. The cold countries know the advantage of having a fireplace in their home. These days we have central heating, even floor heating. So all professions, all people involved in making our homes cozy are directly linked to Krittika. The other important function of fire is that it's protecting us. I'm sure you've seen a movie where a gang of friends went to the forest for camping, and during the night they heard some weird noises of animals, and then they quickly hold a torch, fire it, and try to protect themselves. That's an important function of Krittika. The entire armed forces, weaponry, everything that's used to protect us is linked to Krittika. You must also understand when fire burns in the forest, for example, it burns incessantly, uncontrollably. I think a couple of years ago I heard that news in Australia where wildfires are very common. So this now is presenting another dimension to what this nakshatra is all about. The person has the capability to be spiritually awakened, but if the energy is not channelized, this can lead to this burning desire to achieve everything. This can lead to uncontrollable rage, violence, brutality, bloodshed, wars. This nakshatra has a darker theme, which I'll also be conveying through the classification of this nakshatra a bit later. Let's talk about Lord Kartikeya. Lord Kartikeya is known to be the commander of the celestial army. So this nakshatra is a lot about fighting battles. The Krittika native is going to be very competitive, and the person would have a winning mentality, winning at all costs. So an extreme side of the native would be seen. Why is that? During war, everything is fair, as they say. So we all hear stories of human rights being violated. So this nakshatra has a darker theme. I see politicians having a very strong Kritika's influence. Politicians fight a battle. Military leaders have a very strong Kritika's influence. People who are in sports have a very strong Kritika's influence. Lawyers, any profession that requires competition is Kritika linked. Thankfully, since Lord Agni is also ruling this section of the sky, and in some ways Lord Agni signifies divine wisdom, the battles which are fought in Kritika would be within reason. They would largely be fought on principle. Mahatma Gandhi, who has Jupiter in Kritika, so he was fighting a battle on principle. Lord Kartikeya, as per mythology, was raised by 6 mothers. This is a very important aspect of Kritika. This conveys that the Kritika native is going to have a very maternal side. I have seen nurses having a very strong Kritika's influence. A great example is Florence Nightingale. She is known to be the mother of modern nursing. In her chart, I found Sun and Moon in Kritika. Interestingly, in the story of Florence Nightingale, she was known to be the lady with the night lamp, as she would do her rounds in the hospital during the night, carrying a lamp, looking after people. And I'm referring to the lamp, to the fire, and the mythology surrounding it, which I'd shared earlier. It would be no surprise to you if I tell you this nakshatra belongs to the caste of a Brahmin, a teacher, due to Lord Agni's influence. This nakshatra has the nature of mixed, a combination of mridhu, which translates to soft, which is due to the strong maternal side linked to Lord Kartikeya's upbringing, and tikshana, which translates to sharp, pinching, and that is due to Lord Agni's aggressive nature. When Agni, fire, is uncontrolled, it can burn everything at sight. And Lord Kartikeya, fighting on the battlefield, this nakshatra belongs to the guna of Rajasic. The native would be about achieving things of the world. Sadly, if wisdom is unutilized, the person might use one's intelligence to conquer the world, so to say. And furthermore, this nakshatra belongs to the Gana of Rakshasa, which translates to demonic temperament. Everything goes to win. So it would be very important how the overall chart is, and most importantly how Sun is placed. Sun is the planetary ruler of Krittika. If Sun is better placed, then this intelligence would translate to wisdom, wisdom would translate to spiritual way of thinking. The person can awaken oneself and transcend to a higher plane. However, if you go downwards and think of yourself as the king, the native could end up making decisions which are extreme. So it has many sides. It's a very interesting nakshatra. Why is Sun the ruler of Krittika? Sun symbolizes leadership. If you go back to Lord Agni is known to be the leader of the Vasus. And the Vasus, as per mythology, are known to be the rulers of earth. Vasus collectively rule over the nakshatra of Dhaneshta, which I'll be sharing later. So Lord Agni symbolizes leadership, Lord Kartikeya symbolizes leadership, and therefore this nakshatra is a lot about leadership. I'm going to be sharing a few careers on the screen now. Given the mythology, I hope you're able to understand why these careers are linked to Krittika. You must understand Krittika falls in Aries and Taurus. So apart from taking Sun's position into account, Sun is the nakshatra ruler, you must take into account Mars's position if the planet falls in Krittika in Aries. You must take into account Mars's position then, or you must take into account Venus's position. This nakshatra would fall in the padhas ruled by either Jupiter or Saturn. The position of the planet in the Navamsha and the sign it's occupying is the pada. So what I've done for you, I've listed down the planets for you as well, that you must learn about before you can correctly interpret the position of the planet in Krittika. The other aspects are that you take into account the houses linked to the planet you're analyzing. So the overall birth chart reading is important, but studying the planet Krittika in isolation is an excellent starting point. So let's do that. Moon in Krittika. The first thing that comes to my mind is the maternal side of Krittika. Moon is exalted in Krittika for that reason. So therefore the person would naturally be very caring and protective of people around oneself. The person would, however, be very competitive. Wanting to win is strongly linked to Krittika. The person would also be well educated, spiritually minded, but can be prone to extreme reactions at an emotional level. That if someone has defeated you and you have Moon in Krittika, you react very aggressively. Like, I'll get back to you and I'll win the next competition against you, something on those lines. The person would make an excellent teacher of moon related activities, such as a mental health coach. The person would want to make a name for oneself, and in general the person would be very intelligent and would have the capability to occupy a position of a leader in the society. Sun in Krittika, the first thing that occurs to me is a leader, a king, a position akin to a king in the society. Sun symbolizes leadership. Krittika symbolizes leadership. Sun represents our soul. A Sun Krittika-like native has the capability to rise on a spiritual plane. So you must channelize your energy and you must see things in their true sense. Money and fame is not going to give you any lasting peace. A Sun Kritika-like person has the capability to see that. Sun Kritika can make an excellent doctor, healthcare worker. Sun eradicates diseases, is known to do that. And Kritika has a very strong maternal side. Doctors can be seen from this position. Sun Kritika-like person can also occupy positions of high authority in educational institutes of all kinds. The head of the department, the principal, even an administrator. Political leaders are also seen from this position, Sun Kritika. You'd find this interesting. The current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, I don't know his time of birth, it's not available on the internet. He has Sun in Kritika. Sun Kritika-like person can go to the extreme. Winning is important, leadership is important. The person can be known to push others down due to the demonic temperament that is linked to this section of the sky. And the person can get into ego battles with authority figures. That I exercise this authority, how did this person question it? So a very king-like attitude, which you see in those movies portraying a medieval time when there was a king and the king's authority was questioned and a war broke out. That is the kind of imagination I am having of a Sun Kritika-like person. The Sun Kritika, again, has the capability to awaken oneself on a spiritual plane. When Mercury is in Kritika, I see a debater, someone who's trying to prove one's point, a lawyer, a barrister in particular. The arguments are made to prove a point. The arguments are made to win a battle. The person would be extremely intelligent, like people who keep scores for everything they do. Like, you know what, I have defeated you in chess these many times. That's Mercury Kritika's energy. The downside is the person can be very argumentative and can get into an unending debate. Like in these news channels that you see, people losing it. Someone has said something and you feel, how did you say that? I didn't mean it. And then it becomes a bit of comedy for viewers, but that person starts feeling my authority is being questioned and the person's defense is through words. Mercury Kritika. The person can be in the business of education, like private tuitions, that business, or coaching institutes. The person would be very business-minded, as this nakshatra is Rajasic, and the temperament can be fragile. The person can be lured into expressing emotions aggressively, and therefore the person may not make the best diplomat. That is my view of Mercury in Kritika. When Venus, the planet of love and affection, is in Kritika, the person has a very strong maternal side. Venus symbolizes love. Kritika is a very maternal section of the sky. I have seen nurses having Venus in Kritika. The person in love affairs is going to be very competitive. The person may end up having ego issues. The person can be very impulsive if Kritika falls in the sign of Aries in particular. As far as creativity is concerned, any profession that's linked to the use of fire, a jeweler, a blacksmith, an automobiles designer. As far as money is concerned, the person can be working for the government in the money sector, like working for the Federal Reserves of a country, representing the government. Venus in Kritika. It's a coming together of Venus and Sun, essentially. The person can also be a teacher of art with Venus and Krittika both directly linked to the education sector. In love affairs, the person is going to seek a partner who one can have intellectual conversations, philosophical conversations with. Venus is about pleasure seeking, and this nakshatra belongs to the caste of Rajasic, so it's very likely the person has a very materialistic view of life. As I have been saying earlier, a Krittika native has the capability to rise above all of that. That is my view of Venus in Krittika. When Mars is in Krittika, firstly, the person is a protector. All professions linked to armed forces, police services, security services. I had mentioned earlier that the battles fought in Krittika are within reason. Therefore, the person can make an excellent lawyer. Mars is about entrepreneurship. The person can be in the business of manufacturing goods. My understanding is all manufacturing units require an active use of fire. A blacksmith is a perfect example of Mars in Krittika. A Mars Krittika-like character would manufacture and build security for one's family, for example. Mars Krittika-like person can make an excellent yoga teacher where one combines the body with some divine knowledge, or could make an excellent motivator. The person would have the ability to propel others, motivate others to become more productive. Mars Krittika. The person can be very inspirational. Having said that, Mars is very uncompromising, wrathful, vindictive, revengeful. Mars is known for brutality, and so is the nakshatra of Krittika. So this is a difficult position. A Mars Krittika-like person would need guidance in life. Without proper guidance, this can lead to negative outcomes. The person would largely remain materialistic. Mars is about conquering the world, so to say, and this nakshatra is Rajasic, and would not shy away from pushing one's competitors down. That is my view of Mars in Krittika. Now, when Jupiter, the planet of knowledge, is in Krittika, this is the best recipe for professors, teachers, political leaders, motivators, coaches, etc. Instantly, I see that when I see Jupiter in Krittika. The person can also be very knowledgeable about food. The person can be an expert in the use of fire. The person can also be very knowledgeable on the use of fire, whether it's in the manufacturing industry or in the armed forces, the use of weapons. The person can be very knowledgeable. The person would make an excellent motivator, particularly if Jupiter is in the sign of Aries. A yoga teacher can also be seen with this combination. The person may also be an expert in the ancient ritual of using fire to convey one's offering. When I was talking about Lord Agni at the beginning, I'd referred to a ritual where we offer food to the fire, thinking this food's going to reach the realm of the gods. A Jupiter Krittika-like person can have that knowledge, that ancient ritual which converts fire as a messenger, as a carrier of our wishes to the realm of the gods. The person's materialistic side here is going to be within reason. The person's competitive side would also be marked by good judgment. Altogether, I find a Jupiter Krittika-like person to be an authority figure on account of one's knowledge and an inspiration in the society for others to follow. When Saturn is in Krittika, I immediately see a government worker. The nakshatra ruled by Sun, Saturn-Sun's relationship, all of this put together, I see someone serving the government, serving the king. Here the person can be in public service linked to the education sector, like the Minister of Education. Rather than actually being the educator, the person is helping the process of education. The person is framing the policy, planning for the future of children's education. The person may also be in charge of the administrative side of the education sector. I remember in my school days, my father used to visit the bursar. My father used to work for the government and he would visit the bursar of my school. The bursar was responsible for the administrative side. A Saturn Kritika-like person can play that role. Any profession that requires the use of fire very carefully can be linked to Saturn Kritika. The person can become a master technician in the use of fire in the manufacturing industry. For example, the person can be very experienced in that domain. The person is going to face ego issues, and most times the person would feel hard done by authority figures, as that's the relationship between Saturn and Sun. Here the person would be known for one's persistence. A Saturn Kritika's fighting style would be to never give up. So once a person has started a battle, the person would be the last person standing, like in those wrestling matches, which are comedy though, but we see there are matches which have that description, last man standing. There's a wrestling match. So the last man standing there is a Saturn Kritika-like person in my view. The person can be a teacher of an ancient science. The person's materialistic side is likely to be more controlled. The person may also not be as vindictive or revengeful in competitions, and the person would have a strong maternal side, and therefore the person can involve oneself in taking care of the ones who are abandoned by their family, the ones who are very old. So a Saturn Kritika-like person can have a career in elder care in particular. Saturn Kritika altogether is an interesting position, but the person would have to learn how to manage authority in one's life. When Rahu is in Kritika, the person can go to the extreme to win a battle. There's a war that has started, let's end it, and let's use every mean possible to win that battle. The person would be excessively competitive. Here, the person's reason and judgment can be colored by the delusions of Rahu, even though Lord Agni is known to burn those delusions, but the veil of delusion under Rahu is going to be very thick. So the person would have to think very deeply and carefully about one's actions. On the other side, the person can be an unconventional teacher. People might come to know that there's a person on that mountain is known to teach martial arts. And the style of martial arts this person is teaching, no one else can teach you that. So that's a positive. The person's style of taking care could also be foreign. The person may have one's own style of helping people. I'm referring to the maternal side linked to Kritika. The person can, if unguided, be excessively materialistic and revengeful. That is my view of Rahu in Kritika. Ketu in Kritika have a lot in common as compared to Rahu in Kritika. The person can naturally be inclined towards spirituality and can start making progress in that domain. Ketu symbolizes isolation and finding answers within, and this nakshatra, as I have been saying, is a lot to do with spiritual awakening. The person's style of leadership would be very unique, foreign, and the person might feel, do what I say, as I say, or not do it at all. So the person might feel, follow my lead as I say it, and the person can be very uncompromising. And in competitions on a battlefield, the person can go to the extreme. Ketu represents extremism, torture, violence, brutality, cruelties linked to Ketu. And a Ketu Kritika-like person can go to the extreme. Kritika has a maternal side, and when Ketu is there, the person can become very protective. I think a Ketu Kritika-like person make excellent spies. So they are protecting their country, but they are doing it in a very secretive manner, away from the country itself in some cases. Ketu is directly linked to espionage, and here battles which are fought in Ketu Kritika are fought in secrecy, like those cyber attacks that we hear of, that country has launched on the other country, that perhaps has originated in the mind of a Ketu Kritika-like person. The materialistic side of a Ketu Kritika-like person is under control. Ketu isn't known for materialism. However, Ketu Kritika can be very revengeful. And lastly, a Ketu Kritika-like person can be a teacher of an ancient science. That is my view. Thank you for watching this video till the very end. If you have any questions, please post a comment. And if you'd like to stay in touch, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks again. Bye for now.